So in today's lesson, we're going to find the area of a triangle, rectangle, and circle geared towards middle school students. We're going to show 3 examples of each, and we're going to go over the correct formulas for finding them, and we're going to go over tips finding area. First, we're going to define area. Area is the surface space within an object. It's the size of the surface within a two-dimensional object or plane. It's the measurement of space within a flat surface or shape, and it is always defined by units squared.
Alright, so finding the area of a triangle. To find the area of a triangle, you use the formula area equals half of base times height. So first, you need to find the base, which is at the bottom of the triangle. And then second, you have to find the height, which is the measurement from the bottom of the triangle all the way up to the top tip of the triangle. Then you're going to plug these two in, multiply them by each other, and then divide by half to find your area. In our first example, we're finding the area of a triangle, so we're going to use the formula area equals half of base times height. In this case, we see a grid and there's no numbers given to us, so you have to count along the bottom to determine that the base is 4 and that the height is 5 by counting up. Then you're going to plug these two numbers into your formula. So our new formula is going to look like area equals half of 4 times 5, which is 20. So 20 divided by half is 10. So the area for this triangle is 10.
For the second example, we're going to use the same formula, area equals half times base times height. Here we see that the base of this triangle is 12 inches and the height is given at 10 inches. So just like example 1, we're going to plug in the values. So area equals half times 12 times 10. Here we get that 12 times 10 is 120, and divided by 2, we get the area is 60 inches squared.
In our last example for the triangles, we're going to use the same formula we've been using, area equals half of base times height. So we see at the bottom that the base is 10 meters, and we see that the height is 6 meters. So we're going to plug these two measurements in. So our new formula is area equals half of 10 times 6. So when we multiply 10 by 6, we get 60. So we do area equals half of 60, which is 30.
And our next example is finding the area of a rectangle. The area equation for a rectangle is base times height or length times width. It's the same thing for each. A square is the same as well, but here we're going to focus on a rectangle. To find the area of a rectangle, you simply multiply the base measurement by the height measurement and you plug the numbers into the equation. For our first example, we have a rectangle. You're going to follow these 4 steps to find the area. Step 1 is you have to identify the height and the base of the rectangle. So here we have the height at 4 centimeters, the base at 8 centimeters. Then we're going to use the equation area equals height times base, or width times height, the same thing. Then you're going to plug in the given values into the equation, and then lastly you're going to solve the equation. So the area equals 4 centimeters times 8 centimeters, and here the given area is 32 centimeters squared.
In our next example, we're going to use the same formula, which is area equals base times height, and we see in this picture that the base is 6 centimeters and the height is 3.5 centimeters. So we're going to plug these into our formula to form area equals 6 centimeters times 3.5 centimeters. When you multiply those two numbers together, we determine that the area is 21 centimeters squared. Make sure you do not forget to square your answer.
And for our third example, we are going to find the area within this two-dimensional shape of a soccer field. We see here that the numbers are larger, so we have to be careful when we multiply. We see that the base is x here, which is 115 yards, and then our height is y, which is 74 yards. So we simply multiply the base times the height, 115 yards times 74 yards, and then we get 8,510 yards squared.
Alright, our next shape that we're going to find the area of is a circle. To find the area of a circle, you need to find the radius. The radius is half of the diameter. Our formula for a circle to find the area is area equals pi radius squared. Pi is 3.14. So you're just going to find the radius, plug it into this equation, and that will give you the area.
So our first example of finding the area of a circle, we use the same formula, which is pi equals 3.14 times the radius squared. Here we are given the radius at 4 centimeters, so we simply square 4 centimeters to get 16, multiply that by 3.14, which is pi, and then we get the total area of 50.27 centimeters squared.
Alright, so in the second example of finding the area of a circle, we see that the radius is given to us at 6 centimeters. To find the area, we're going to plug in 6 centimeters into the r in our equation, and we're going to solve. So area equals 3.14, or pi, times 6 squared. 6 squared is 36, so now we do pi times 36 to find out that our area is 113.04 centimeters squared. Also, if you wanted to know the diameter of the circle, you would do the radius times 2. So in this case, our radius is 6 centimeters, so we would multiply 6 by 2 to get 12 centimeters as our diameter.
In this last example, we are given the radius, the diameter of this circle at 12 centimeters. So in order to find the radius, we have to divide the diameter by 2, and we use the same formula, the area equals pi times r squared. Pi equals 3.14, so the formula is 3.14 times 6 centimeters squared, which gives us a total area of 113.04 centimeters squared for this circle. A summary of today's lesson is that we worked on finding the area of a square, triangle, and circle, given many examples. In order to be successful at finding the area, you must memorize the area formulas. To quickly go over the formulas, you have to remember that the area of a triangle is half times base times height, the area of a rectangle is base times height or length times width, and the area of a circle is 3.14, or pi, times the radius squared.
Alright, so now we have some tips to help you correctly solve for the area. Our first tip is make sure you are using the correct formula for that shape. There are many different formulas for finding the area, and each shape is different except for a rectangle and a square, so you have to be sure to have the right one. Our next tip is always double check your work to make sure you are plugging in the correct numbers into your area formulas. If you're not being safe enough, you could be using the height as the base or the diameter instead of the radius in a circle, which could really mess up your equation and give you the wrong answer as your area. Our next tip is make sure to always write your answer squared and be sure to use the correct units. And lastly, do your best to try to memorize these 3 formulas because it'll help you. Our next class. So in our next class, we will be learning what we learned today and reviewing that and then using it to help us find the perimeter of these 3 different shapes and many other shapes.